Welcome, Agile friends. Welcome to this special interview with someone I've admired for a long time and followed his work, Gojko Adzic. Hey, Gojko, welcome to the summit.
Hey, Vasco, thank you very much for inviting me.
So Gojko is here to talk about something he discovered while developing his own product. He eventually named it Lizard Optimization and is now a book. So for those of you more interested in the book, you can also find a 50% discount link in the video description below. So make sure you check that out. Gojko is an award-winning software expert, author, and also 2019 AWS Serverless Hero. Why did they choose that name for the award? That's quite an amazing name.
Well, I was one of kind of the early people adopting serverless, and Robert Chatley and I actually wrote a relatively influential, scientific paper on it. It's not something you'd expect from me to do, but I kind of wrote a book on what we've done there as well. One of my products was a very, very, very early adopter of serverless, and then kind of that led to some open source tools for that while the whole platform was still growing. And I think that's what they recognized as a community contribution, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Gojko is also known for his influential work on Agile testing. I bet many of you know him from that side as well. Serverless computing, as it just said. And one of my favorite product tools, impact mapping, something that I still talk about on a regular basis these days with the product teams that I work with. Now, before we dive into the conversation with Gojko, let me tell you that there's a lot more sessions on product topics in the summit this year. We have a whole track called Value-Centric Product Development with Michał Parkoa dedicated to product ideas. So check it out at agileonlinesummit.com. But now let's focus on our conversation. So for those of us who are watching this session but haven't looked at many of your books, especially not the latest ones, we might even be surprised by the fact that you use illustrations quite a lot in the book. So one of the things that I'm curious about, Gojko, is why did you start using this specific style that it's more like a cross between nonfiction, children's book? Why did you choose that style for your latest books?
I think books should be nice and easy to read. And a boring book, it doesn't matter how smart it is still a boring book. And part of kind of building a good product, whether it's software or book or something like that, is to focus on the usability of it and the value people can get from it. And I think visual illustrations can complement learning quite effectively and can cement in and reinforce learning. And I kind of don't take myself too seriously, so my books reflect that. I think having like playful illustrations is really good. I used to work for a book publisher when I was younger, and I was actually editor-in-chief for a reasonably influential magazine about computing in Serbia when I was in my 20s. And we had this whole kind of thing about providing illustrations and visual reinforcement there. And then when I wrote Spec by Example, I worked with the publisher, and then I was trying to get them to do some illustrations. As a publisher, they should kind of, pay for illustrators and things like that. And there's some illustrations there, but I wasn't really happy about that, and I wasn't under control of that. And then when I did impact mapping, that was the book after Spec by Example, I really wanted it to be like high on usability to get people to consume the content easier. And I started drawing lots of illustrations myself, and I sent it to a friend of mine who runs a design agency. And I said, look, I can still draw. I used to be able to draw, I can still draw. And this friend of mine replied with like a single sentence, said, well, maybe you should pay a professional to do this. And I said, okay, fair enough. Find me somebody. So because this friend of mine works with lots of illustrators, he put me in touch with a bunch of people, and I really like the style of the illustrations that Nikola Korac was doing.